Where in the world are we off to today?
One, two, three.
What's good, my good people? It is Corporate Will back again. Now, if you know anything about me, then you know that at the top of my list of favorite things to do is traveling. So this past December, the lady and I got a chance to do just that, but not just travel to any old place. No. We decided to travel to the motherland. And boy, when I tell you, it was a treat. So much so that we wanted to just share that experience with you all. Our 16 days from Accra, Ghana, all the way down to Cape Town, South Africa. If you've been to any of these places, done any of these activities, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. We plan on going back this year as well. So if you also have some suggestions, feel free to drop those as well. Now, without further ado, I want to share the experience with you all. If you haven't been, hopefully this inspires you to actually go for yourself. And if you need a bucket list, just copy ours. We did the same thing, so no harm, no foul. All right, let's get into it. This was our first international flight together, actually, and it was a super long flight. I want to say about 20 hours total, including the layovers. So we decided to splurge a bit and cop Delta One seats, and those came with Delta Sky Lounge access, which is where you see us at right now. Just spending some quality time before our flight took off. I think at about 11 p.m. it was that night. Now, in terms of the entire Delta One experience as a whole, I'd be happy to share more about it, show you the entire experience if you care to know about it. Drop a like, leave a comment if you do. As you can see here, the lady is showing off giving her review rather, on some of the upgraded amenities on this service. My favorite by far was the lie flat seats, especially considering this was such a long flight. In typical first class fashion, they did start us off with a champagne toast, which is always great before you just kick back and relax for, again, just a super long flight like this. Ultimately, I think the experience was great as a whole. The food kept flowing. Again, can't talk enough about these lie flat seats. That's truly what you're paying for. But overall, a great experience before we ultimately landed in Patty. Getting to Paris was much like landing inside of a designer shopping mall. As you can see here, this is the terminal of Charles de Gaulle Airport. I can't even remember the terminal that we were in, but yeah, this is what it looks like. The security checkpoint was super easy to get through, right? They just checked your passport and your documents and they sent you on your way. Now, again, we're not typically the kind of flyers to get to the airport any earlier than we absolutely need to, but I do think that it was a super great upgrade for us having flown Delta One, because our partner airline that took us to Accra from Paris was Air France. So we flew first class with them, and that also gave us access to their lounge, which was super cool. This is us walking through it. Really nice, very comfortable. I think by far had the best drinks, amenities, hors d'oeuvres that you could have in any lounge. And again, I'm no lounge expert, but I've been to a few, and I think this was the best. The general area within Air France, at least our terminal, just wasn't that great for seating and just spending quality time together, which is all we desire before flying. In terms of the actual airline experience, I would say Air France is the best first class service that I've flown, and I've said this consistently. I think the food's great, the drinks are better, the entertainment's better, and the proximity of closeness within your first class seats were just super great. This is us like right next to each other, also lay flat and great amenities. And alas, we arrived in the motherland. It was such a beautiful time. Immediately upon getting there, we just got showered and went out on the town to a place a friend recommended called Buka. This was the ultimate vibe to start your trip off with. I mean, just look at it, right? There's pyros, live music, the band was kicking. I mean, it was like a club in Houston, low-key, but it was just a phenomenal time. Black excellence all around. And yeah, we just had a blast. Didn't hurt that we started off the trip with some jollof rice as well. And again, so great. I even let the guy serenade my lady. Now, because we got into Accra so late, I think it was about 10 p.m. when we landed, we knew we were just going to be drop dead tired, which we weren't, but we just wanted to stay somewhere close to the airport. So we stayed in a Marriott that night. However, the very next day, we did cop an Airbnb down in a city called Osu, which is just about 15 minutes south of the airport. And this was a great time. As you can see here, I did have to work a bit, but it was pretty convenient because I worked pretty much all evening, which gave us time to get up in the mornings, go to the gym, spend some quality time, and then hit a brunch spot or two before starting the day. The first place we went to was a place called Rose Garden. I think we just Googled it when we got there, and as you can see, nice vibe. The food was took some getting used to, but the drinks were a good time. We ultimately ended up leaving here and going to our ultimate favorite spot in all of the city of Accra.
Thank you.
It's a place called Sandbox Beach Club. As you can see here, the vibes are just immaculate. I mean, on a Saturday night, on a Sunday for brunch, sometimes even during the weekday nights, this place does look totally different. It's like a little club slash lounge, but a great time nonetheless. But if you happen to be here during just midday on a regular day, right, you can enjoy this place essentially all to yourself. And the price of living, the cost of living in Africa, I didn't talk about that yet, but it is super, super affordable. The dollar goes a very long way.
Thank you.
But in
Thank
most
you.
places, you don't even have to buy a section, right? You can just buy a few drinks there and they'll let you stay so long as you're enjoying the amenities. And we did just that, right? Just the cabanas, hitting the beach, found a guy with a horse. So we just relaxed and again, just spent some more quality time here at Sandbox Beach Club. Now, as I mentioned, I did have to work during the first leg of this trip, but I worked it out perfectly to where I always had a gap in my day where we could just cut out, go grab some dinner, hang out, rejuvenate before ultimately getting back to finishing up my work day and then heading out for the night. So we did just that. We decided to go right back to Makosa, which is the restaurant area of the Sandbox Beach Club. Like I said before, this place does turn into a club or a mini lounge throughout the week, but again, it was just a perfect time for us to get there because we pretty much had the entire place to ourselves. We got to see another piece of this beautiful, beautiful venue and just enjoy the elements. It was perfectly positioned for us to get that good sea breeze, hear the sounds of the ocean, hang out, just catch up, spend some quality time, which is really all we desire when we are first starting any big trip that we take. Now, equally as impressive as the vibes, the entire venue itself, is the food.
That is what you call a prawn.
Cannot talk enough about the food. Again, we fell in love with Sandbox Beach Club first, and then we fell in love with Accra. This place is 10 out of 10, definitely our favorite place, and we will certainly be back. Now, for the night, we decided to go meet up with a friend who happened to be living in Accra at Sky Bar 25. There are multiple Sky Bars, so make sure you're going to the Sky Bar 25, and it's on Airport Road, or it's by the Accra Mall. 10 out of 10 place, definitely a great place to have a nightcap. They do have small bites, but certainly a great place to hang out and meet up with people. The best part of the night for us, though, was what he also introduced us to, which was a place called Bella Frico. I'll also drop the link there. We'll certainly be back. When I thought about coming to Accra, this is what I thought of. I wanted to be amongst the locals. I wanted to be kicking it. I wanted to learn some dance moves. I just wanted to hang out, be carefree, and vibe out with my lady. And we did just that at Bella Frico. I think this is probably our second favorite place in all of Accra, with our first favorite place being, you guessed it, Sandbox Beach Club. The very next day, we decided to go back because the heavens told us to. This is our last day in Accra before hitting our next destination, so we could not leave without saying goodbye to Accra temporarily at our favorite place, and then off to, you guessed it, Johannesburg. Or maybe you didn't guess that, but on our way to Cape Town, we had about a 10-hour layover in Johannesburg, so we decided to make the most of the trip by first hitting up the Apartheid Museum. Now, I would say if you only have 10 hours in Johannesburg, 6 hours even, spend your day at the Apartheid Museum. Not only is it just a beautiful structure, a beautiful place within the city and tons to do, but more importantly, you get to learn about the rich history of this beautiful country, which also includes the history of the not so beautiful aspect of the apartheid movement and just the atrocities that went on in this country. Most important for us, or just the most impactful for us, really was the Nelson Mandela Museum, which the Apartheid Museum opens up into. You get to just learn about the awe-inspiring story of this great, phenomenal person's life. Nelson Mandela is really a hero in my eyes, and after leaving the museum, I became more empowered, just more inspired by this man. So rest his soul, but certainly a great thing to check out if you're in Johannesburg. Now, before heading back to the airport to take our flight to ultimately land in Cape Town, we decided to stop in the same Nelson Mandela Square just to grab some food before boarding our flight. Now, listen, I've honestly had some internal conflicts coming to terms with this reality for me, but that reality is that Cape Town is my favorite place in the entire world. This place is so beautiful, so awe-inspiring. You get the best of everything. And did I fail to mention that this place is just so affordable, especially coming from America? So the first thing we did was check into our Airbnb, which was on a popular street called Free Street, and just hit the town for the night before getting in early for some rest because we had a jam-packed schedule for this entire leg of the trip. And first on the itinerary was a trip out east to the vineyards of Stellenbosch. Now, this was our first full day in Cape Town, so I just wanted to set up something romantic and intimate for the two of us. So we found this beautiful, incredible Airbnb experience that took us to Stellenbosch Vineyards.
Oh my God.
As you can see here, this is just one of the vineyards that we went to. In total, we went to about 4, I think, vineyards and got a very rich, intimate history and sort of just learning lesson of all the wines in each of the vineyards, some of the history behind them, and what really inspired not just the wine itself, but them to set up shop essentially at these vineyards. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this. I'll be sure to drop the link for the exact experience that we did on Airbnb, but I'm sure there's 1,000 ways to do this. This is just the way that we did it. Absolutely love this time. Now, I will say this is an all-day thing. I believe we got up at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't really get back to our Airbnb until about 6. We came back with about a dozen bottles of wine, so we just decided to stay in this first night and just watch some movies, spend some time, sip some wine, and kick it. And on our very next day, we got up. This is the rooftop of our Airbnb just to get a quick workout in before hitting the beaches. Now, there are several beaches. Cape Town is along a coast. I think it's almost like a peninsula in a way. There's beaches all around. We went to a very popular beach here called Camps Bay. I would definitely recommend it. One thing to note that we did not know and we're really surprised by, is the fact that the water is freezing cold. Hot, sandy beaches, hot weather, but the water itself is freezing, so we didn't enjoy that much, but it was just beautiful to sit there. Along Camps Bay, it's much like being on like Rodeo Drive, except instead of fancy shops, right, there's a bunch of fancy eateries, and I cannot speak enough about how affordable this place is. We ate all this food that you see here. I'll drop the link to the specific restaurant. We ate all this food here with also a couple glasses of wine for maybe $30 including tip. I'm not kidding. It was incredible. Now, after spending all of Sunday beach bumming and enjoying some of the restaurants on the beach, we decided to be adventurous the very next day and hike a very notable mountain called Table Mountain, which you see here. Now, this was extremely beautiful, also an Airbnb experience that I can drop a link for. It was a bit rigorous, but as you can see here, we were hiking with others, including a family of about 5, and I think we all fared pretty well, so definitely doable, but it is a challenge and just something cool to do in Cape Town. Now, after grabbing some grub and just relaxing and winding down for a bit, we decided to hit another popular area in Cape Town called the Waterfront, the VA Waterfront, to just have a quick boat ride on the ocean, which was very scenic and romantic for us, so absolutely loved it. In the same area, the same VA Waterfront, also got a haircut. So brothers, I know it's a challenge sometimes for us to find a good barber, but Cape Town has no shortage of good barbers in the waterfront particularly. And they also do this thing where they pull your nose hairs out as a part of your haircut, which I wasn't mad about. It was a cool experience. First time, definitely probably would do it again because I felt very, very much so better from a sinus perspective afterwards. But To end the night, we decided to do another Airbnb experience. So you probably hear a theme here. I am not an Airbnb affiliate, but they did hit across the board for the experiences in Cape Town. But this experience was really cool because we got to indulge in a cooking class from a native Zimbabwe owned restaurant, which is what you see here. And I absolutely love this. One of the ladies' love languages is feeding me, and one of my love languages is certainly eating her food. So this just hit the nail on the head where it's across the board. We got to meet some new folks in the class. We got to meet a cool restaurateur and her family, and we ultimately got to wine and dine together, which is something we love to do. And it made it just that much more special that we cooked all the food. So this was a great experience that I would highly recommend, and I'll drop a link for. The next day we got up and had some fun. I think most people would enjoy this. We had a photo shoot in the very iconic Burg neighborhood of Cape Town. Just as a quick history lesson, the Burg neighborhood is the first neighborhood in Cape Town that was inhabited by Muslims, and you really see and feel that presence to this day. Now, I wasn't too familiar with the area, to be honest, before this trip. However, maybe a couple days before actually packing for the trip, we saw this picture of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who took this iconic photo in Burg that looked something like this. So we just copied their style and decided to have our own photo shoot in this very scenic, eclectic place that is in the heart of Cape Town and full of so much culture and history, just like pretty much all of South Africa. But this place in particular really stole our hearts, and we had a really good time just having a very cute photo shoot with each other in this part of town. Now, after our beautiful photo shoot, we decided to get some food because, we got to eat before taking another adventure down south in Cape Town. This time we were actually trying to get to a place called the Cape of Good Hope. However, we pleasantly got surprised and lost at a place called Boulder Beach, which I would highly, highly recommend anyone traveling to Cape Town to visit. It is a beautiful place in its own right. I don't know about Cape of Good Hope to actually speak on it myself because we got lost. However, one of the most amazing things that happened to us is that we stumbled on this beach, this colony on Boulder's Beach of penguins. Right? So you paid this $5 entrance fee to get into Boulder Beach, and then you were met with a whole colony of penguins who just hang out on this Atlantic coast shoreline of South Africa. And when I tell you it was a pleasant surprise, we spent the next 2 or 3 hours there just basking in that experience. And at the end of the night, we did something very special. It became our favorite thing to do in Cape Town, which was watch the sunset on Signal Hill. There's so much I can say about this, but I just want you all to do yourselves a favor. If you ever go to Cape Town, Google Signal Hill, get there whenever you can and enjoy that experience. Bring a bottle of wine, bring a picnic, whatever you want to do. Just enjoy the beauty of God's grace and God's creation on Signal Hill for a night. Yeah, that place was magical. So that night we just headed back in, went to a club for a minute that night, but we didn't stay out too late because the next day we had another great adventure. So we had an early night. And the next day, our adventure was a safari. So I will say, disclaimer, this wasn't a fully immersive safari. If you're into that, we didn't spend 5 to 7 nights on a true safari reservoir. We just did this Airbnb experience that took us to the reservation that you just saw there, which was about, I want to say 800 acres. So vast fields, but the animals were contained. We got to see the big five. However, some of them were pretty dormant, but overall, great experience. If you want to see the wildlife, but don't necessarily want to have the full immersive safari experience. For dinner that night, we checked out a spot that came highly recommended from some locals that we met. This spot was called Gold, and this was a really, really immersive experience as well because you not only get fed a pretty good course of food, but it's very interactive, very in your face. They do some face paintings. You get to see some of the, tribal dances or what they're doing, and then you also get to get on stage if you want to actually go dance, which is just a good time. You get good food, good atmosphere, good energy, and just an overall great time to just let loose and experience something new in a brand new place. Man, that was such a great night, but unfortunately, this also meant that our time in Cape Town was dwindling down, and we couldn't let that happen without having a little bit more fun. So we checked out of our Airbnb, which again was in the Central Business District on Bree Street, and we checked into a boutique hotel right off the shores of Camps Bay Beach. Yeah, I went for Darius Love, all y'all. No shame in my game, but the hotel was absolutely marvelous. As you can see here, it just captured the full essence of Cape Town as a whole. From our backyard, you could see the 12 Apostle Mountains. From the front lawn, you could see the Atlantic Ocean. From Camp State Beach, there was a private walkway into a private pool. Just everything was magnificent here. We're going to keep this one to ourselves, though, just so that we can come back in peace next time, but we'll share one day, just not 2 days. Now, that entire day between then and nighttime, we just spent practicing some gratitude, walking back and forth to the beach, just praying, just thanking God that we even got this opportunity to explore this beautiful, beautiful place that God created and enjoy one another. Really, for the nighttime, we finally settled in, enjoyed more of the amenities at the hotel itself, caught up, listened to some good music, read a book, just really chilled out, really, really low key. And then for dinner, we more or less stayed low key as well. Went to a local spot called Hoosier Grill. Definitely good food. I tried an ostrich steak, so more experiences for you to try. And that was pretty much our night, our last night in Cape Town. And for our last day, we started it much like we ended the last night, with just a lot of gratitude, enjoying nature, enjoying just where we were at that particular moment, spending some quality time before we ultimately left for one last adventure. Before leaving, the last thing we did, we couldn't leave. We're history buffs. We like to make sure that we're having fun wherever we go, but also getting a full immersive experience. So we actually went to, drum rolls please, you guessed it, Robben Island, to see where the great Nelson Mandela was jailed. Now, I can tell you, I could write a whole book about this experience, but I just want to let you all see what we experienced. We got to see the quarters, meet an actual inmate who gave us a tour, and just really embrace this entire piece of culture that we otherwise would have never gotten a chance to embrace.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shani.
This was Mr. Nelson Mandela's actual jail cell where he was incarcerated for 15 of his 18 years on Robben Island. Again, just a very powerful experience, for lack of better words, to really see, especially in this day and age, walking that with an actual inmate, just something to really keep you humble and grateful at the same time. And then lastly, we ultimately had to leave, unfortunately, and head back to Accra. Upon landing in Accra, just like we did the first night we got there, we decided to go out. A buddy of ours invited us out to Polo Beach Club. And when you think of and you hear about those vibes in Accra and just the all-night parties, this is what they're talking about. This place is absolute madness in the best of ways. The very next day, we got up and went to Black Star Square, otherwise known as Independence Square, which is a huge, huge, important symbol of hope and independence. And Accra is actually where they have their actual independence parade. So had to see that before ultimately leaving to head back to the States. And that was our 16 day journey all throughout Africa.